Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me tonight. Have you ever wondered what it would really be like to step back in time, beyond the castles, chivalry, and grand banquets, to face the true day-to-day challenges of medieval life? In this series, we'll explore the cold mornings, harsh laws, endless work, and unexpected dangers that made survival in the Middle Ages a true test of strength, spirit, and luck. As you listen, imagine trading your modern comforts for life in a smoky cottage, eating simple bread, and finding hope in faith and family. This journey is not just about hardship. It's about the courage and resilience of ordinary people who endured so much so that we could stand where we are today. So get comfortable, settle in, and let's begin our adventure together through the heart of medieval times. Thank you for being here. Imagine the first light of morning in medieval Europe. The distant clang of the church bell stirs you from uneasy sleep. There's no alarm clock, just the rhythm of nature, the call to work, and the echoing footsteps of people already moving outside. You're wrapped in scratchy woolen blankets, lying on a bed that's little more than a wooden frame filled with straw. As you blink awake, the cold hits you. It seeps into your bones, biting through layers of rough-spun clothing, reminding you that the comforts of modern heating and insulation are centuries away. You sit up, breathing in air thick with smoke and dampness. Last night's fire has long since died out, leaving behind a faint warmth and a heavy layer of soot. There is no chimney in your home, just a simple hole in the roof where smoke gathers before slipping out into the gray sky. Soot clings to every surface, settling into your lungs with every breath. You cough, eyes watering, and pull your thin blanket tighter. There's no bathroom, no privacy. In the dim light, you find your way to the chamber pot in the corner, an unglamorous but necessary fixture of medieval life. You try not to think about how it will be emptied later, perhaps by being tossed onto the street or into the stream behind the house. Sanitation is basic at best. Disease is never far away. Your home is a single room, shared with your family. Privacy is a luxury for the wealthy. The walls are wattle and daub, patched and mended countless times, yet still drafty. A single small window lets in a sliver of morning light. Outside, you can already hear the shouts of neighbors, the braying of livestock, the clatter of carts over rough cobblestones. Breakfast, if it can be called that, is humble. You break off a chunk of coarse, dark bread, dipping it in weak ale or thin gruel. There is no fresh fruit, no coffee, no eggs sizzling in a pan. Milk is rare, usually reserved for children, the elderly, or the sick. The bread is heavy and gritty, full of bits of ground stone from the mill. Your teeth ache from every bite, and you know that, over the years, this diet will wear them down to the root. There's no time to linger. Work begins at dawn. For a peasant, the day's labor is set by the seasons. Plowing fields, planting, tending livestock, harvesting, repairing fences. For a townsperson, it might be sweeping the streets, tending a shop, or learning a craft as an apprentice. Children are put to work early, running errands, or watching younger siblings. The day is measured by the movement of the sun, the call of the bell, the demands of survival. As you step outside, the cold greets you once again. The muddy street is a mixture of waste, rainwater, and straw. Pigs and chickens roam freely, picking at scraps. The air is alive with the smells of smoke, manure, and humanity pressed close together. Everyone is busy. No one has time to dawdle. No one has time to dawdle. Your clothing is simple: a linen shirt, woolen hose, and a tunic, perhaps patched in a dozen places. Shoes, if you have them, are rough leather, worn thin by miles of walking. Nothing is wasted. Old fabric is reused, turned into rags, or mended again and again. Every garment is a patchwork of necessity. If you are lucky enough to have a trade, you join the other townsfolk in their morning routines. Carpenters sharpening tools, blacksmiths coaxing fires to life, bakers preparing loaves for the market. If you are a serf, you owe part of your labor to your lord. Your work is not truly your own. If you are a woman, the day is filled with endless tasks: fetching water, preparing meals, spinning, weaving, tending to children and animals. Life is defined by toil, repetition, and the thin hope of a good harvest. But even for the wealthy, comfort is relative. Castles are drafty and cold, their stone walls slow to warm and quick to chill. The lords and ladies wake to similar discomforts, perhaps with finer blankets, but the same hard beds, the same breath visible in the morning air. Meals are more plentiful, but not always more appetizing. The threat of disease, famine, and violence hovers over every class, a shadow never far from the fire. As the morning passes, hunger grows. Food is precious and nothing is taken for granted. You eat quickly, grateful for every crumb, knowing that the next meal is never guaranteed. The rhythm of the day is unyielding. There is no time to dream, little time to rest, and always more work waiting to be done. By the time the sun is high, your hands are red and raw, your feet sore, but there is pride in survival. Every day you endure is a victory over the hardships of this world, a testament to the strength, resilience, and resourcefulness of those who lived and thrived in times so different from our own. Yet as you pause, breathing in the smoky air, you realize this is only the morning. The true trials of medieval life have only just begun. The morning's chill fades as you settle into the routine of a medieval day, but a new reality soon asserts itself: the constant threat of illness. The medieval world is a place where even a small cut or a cough can spiral into tragedy. Modern medicine, vaccines, and antiseptics are centuries away. Instead, you must rely on luck, home remedies, and a handful of herbal cures handed down by word of mouth. Most do little more than offer hope. Hygiene, as you know it, does not exist. Bathing is rare, a luxury or suspicion reserved for special occasions or the upper classes. Some believe water can weaken the body, even invite disease. You might go weeks, even months, without a proper wash. The dirt that cakes your skin is a badge of honest labor. Your hair is tangled and oily, your nails rimmed in black. Lice and fleas are constant companions. Children scratch at their scalps, and adults occasionally pause in their work to pick at their clothes, searching for tiny intruders. Your home is only marginally cleaner. Floors are strewn with rushes, herbs and straw meant to absorb spills and odors. But after a few days, they add their own scent to the air, a mix of old food, smoke, sweat, and the mustiness of rot. Rats dart along the walls, bold in their search for scraps. They are not just a nuisance, but a deadly threat, as no one yet knows the role they play in spreading disease. Water, essential for life, is also a gamble. Wells are few and often shallow. The river may be the only source for washing, drinking, and emptying chamber pots. You can taste the silt, and sometimes worse, in every mouthful. Diarrhea is common and can quickly become fatal, especially for children. Boiling water is rare. Fuel is precious, and fires are hard to maintain. In the town, public baths exist, but are mostly for men, sometimes doubling as places for gossip or illicit business. A visit might leave you dirtier, not cleaner, exposed to new germs rather than protected from them. Most people accept dirt as a fact of life. Perfumed herbs, lavender, rosemary, mint, are worn in pouches or sewn into collars, not for fashion, but to ward off bad smells and, they believe, evil spirits. Doctors, if they can be called that, are few and expensive. Their knowledge is based on ancient Greek and Roman texts, long out of date and heavy on superstition. The local healer is more likely to be a wise woman with a garden of herbs, or a traveling barber who offers both a haircut and a bloody attempt at surgery. Bleeding, purging, and balancing the humors are the cures of the day, more likely to weaken you than heal. In the countryside, the arrival of illness can mean catastrophe. Families crowd into a single room, sharing warmth and germs alike. Colds and fevers spread quickly, and without isolation or understanding of infection, the sick and healthy alike suffer together. Sometimes a priest visits, offering prayers and holy relics. The line between healing and hope is thin. When plague strikes, fear and suspicion take over. The Black Death, bubonic plague, has not been forgotten. It arrives with terrifying speed, swelling glands, darkening skin, and leaving behind silence and sorrow. Whole villages might be abandoned. The very air is thought to carry death, and people flee if they can, though often too late. For the privileged, things are only slightly better. Castles and manor houses are not immune to filth. Even the grandest halls have drafty corners and dark, dirty cellars. Servants empty chamber pots out of windows, and great kitchens attract rats and insects. Perfumed oils and scented woods might mask the smells, but they cannot remove the cause. Despite the hardship, there are moments of ingenuity and care. Mothers tend their sick children with herbal teas and cool cloths. Villagers support one another, sharing remedies, prayers, and comfort. Superstition blends with science. An amulet is worn as protection, a poultice of garlic or vinegar pressed to a wound. Hope is stubborn, surviving where knowledge fails. You, as a modern visitor, would struggle. Your immune system is unprepared for such a world. The smallest cut could turn deadly. The ever-present dirt, the relentless parasites, the water that never runs clean, all would test you in ways you've never known. As the day wears on, you realize that every moment of survival in the medieval world is a quiet triumph. To last a day here is to face not just discomfort but danger at every turn, often invisible and relentless. The bell rings in the distance, calling you to the next part of your day. But already you understand, living in medieval times is a constant fight against disease and dirt, and the odds are rarely in your favor. By midday, hunger gnaws at your belly with a persistence you cannot ignore. But in medieval times, hunger is more than a passing discomfort. It is a fact of life, a daily uncertainty, and a constant shadow. Forget about opening a fridge or visiting a corner market. Here, every bite is hard-won, and the line between plenty and famine is razor-thin. Most of the year, your diet is dictated by what you, your family, and your community can grow, catch, or trade. The staple is bread, heavy, dark, and filling. This bread, made from rye, barley, or sometimes wheat, is rough with bits of husk and stone from the grinding process. Your teeth ache with each bite, and you chew slowly, savoring every mouthful. On lucky days, the bread is accompanied by a bowl of thin pottage, a vegetable stew simmered over an open hearth. Ingredients depend on the season: leeks, onions, beans, and, if fortune smiles, a few scraps of meat or salt pork left from the last slaughter. Roots and wild greens fill the gaps, foraged from field and forest. The flavor is humble and earthy, the meal often bland. Spices are rare, treasured by the wealthy, and precious salt is rationed to stretch through winter. Protein is a rare luxury. If you are a peasant, most of your animals, chickens, goats, pigs, are too valuable alive, producing eggs, milk, or future generations. Slaughter comes only when necessary, and the whole community shares in the bounty, preserving every part. Nothing is wasted: blood, offal, bones for soup. Sometimes fish or eels from a nearby river supplement your diet. But even these are not guaranteed. Hunger is a familiar companion. Harvests can fail. Storms, drought, pests, or war can ruin crops in a single season. When food is scarce, meals shrink and the bread is mixed with anything that will stretch it. Ground acorns, beans, even sawdust. In the worst times, you eat less so children can eat more, and neighbors share what little they have. Mealtimes are communal and simple. There are no individual plates or forks. Instead, you gather around a rough wooden table. If you have one, using your hands, a knife, and perhaps a shared spoon. Food is served from a single pot, or a loaf hollowed out to hold stew. Manners are plain, but rules exist. Do not grab more than your share, do not waste, and always give thanks, for each meal could be your last for days. Water is rarely drunk alone, its quality always in question. Instead, you drink ale or weak beer, even as a child. Fermentation kills some germs, making it safer than the well. Wine is for the church or the wealthy, but cider and mead sometimes make an appearance at festivals. On rare occasions, you might taste honey, fruit, or a small cake sweetened with dried berries. For the lords and ladies, meals are richer, but no less perilous. Feasting halls are filled with roasted meats, pies, and exotic fruits, but these are often more about display than nutrition. Meat is heavily salted or spiced to disguise spoilage. The risk of food poisoning is ever present, and even the privileged are not safe from hunger if war or poor harvests empty the storehouses. Feasts are rare, reserved for holy days, weddings, or visits from nobility. Then, the whole village might gather to share roast ox, fresh bread, cheese, and ale. These are moments of joy, music, laughter, and relief from routine hunger. But the bounty vanishes quickly, and the lean days return. Seasonality rules your diet. Spring brings hunger, as winter stores dwindle before new crops appear. Summer and autumn, with luck, bring abundance. Fresh vegetables, fruits, grains, and milk. These must be preserved, salted, smoked, dried, or pickled to survive the winter's grip. There are no fast foods or restaurants, no endless choices or midnight snacks. Every meal is a reminder of your place in the world, of nature's whims, of your family's skill, and of the blessings and dangers of community. As the day passes, you realize hunger is not just the absence of food. It is the fear that the earth may not provide, the knowledge that one bad season could mean hardship, or worse. It is a humility born of survival, of sharing, and of gratitude for every crumb. You finish your meal with a silent hope that tomorrow there will be enough. In the medieval world, that hope is both a prayer and a plan. As the afternoon sun drifts across the village green, a commotion draws your attention. Someone is being dragged through the muddy street, hands bound with rough rope, a crowd of neighbors shouting, jeering, or simply watching in silence. In the medieval world, the law is ever present, often visible, always intimidating, and rarely fair by modern standards. Here, the line between justice and survival blurs, and even the innocent can find themselves at the mercy of a system both ancient and unforgiving. Law is not what you know. There are no rights to remain silent, no lawyers waiting in a polished courtroom. Instead, the rules are laid down by the local lord, the church, and custom, ancient traditions handed down from elders, priests, or sometimes written in Latin on parchment only a few can read. Petty crimes, stealing bread, poaching a deer, speaking out of turn, can carry consequences out of all proportion to the act itself. If you are accused, guilt or innocence is often irrelevant. Gossip, grudges, and suspicion can be as damning as evidence. Trials are swift and public. The whole community gathers to witness your fate. Sometimes guilt is you might be forced to plunge your hand into boiling water or carry a red-hot iron. If your wounds heal cleanly, you are declared innocent by divine intervention, it is said. If not, you are guilty, and your suffering is seen as proof. The Lord's bailiff or reeve enforces the law with little sympathy. You are subject to fines, paid in precious coin, livestock, or labor. For the poorest, this can be devastating, leading to hunger or worse. Stocks stand in the village square, waiting for those who steal, cheat, or quarrel. There, you might spend hours or days exposed to the elements and the mockery of neighbors, pelted with rotten vegetables and sharp words. Worse punishments await for serious offenses. Thieves may lose a hand, murderers their lives. Hangings are public, as much a warning as a penalty. Sometimes gallows are erected outside the town walls, the bodies left hanging as grim reminders. In the city, the punishment can be even more inventive: branding, mutilation, or banishment. Once outside the law, survival is even more difficult, as few will risk helping an outlaw. The church has its own courts, judging sins as well as crimes. Heresy, blasphemy, or breaking religious fasts can bring penance, imprisonment, or worse. The local priest is both a shepherd and a spy, reporting unfaithful words or acts to those with the power to punish. Confession is not only for the soul, it is also insurance against suspicion. For many, justice means taking matters into their own hands. Feuds simmer between families, villages, even whole regions. An insult or injury can spiral into violence, sometimes lasting for generations. Blood feuds are not uncommon, and the law's reach is limited. Only the strongest or the most cunning thrive. If you are wealthy or noble, you have more options: paying fines, calling on powerful friends, or retreating to your manor while trouble blows over. For peasants, townsfolk, or travelers, justice is swift and brutal. The rules are designed to maintain order, not fairness, and mercy is rare. There are moments of compassion. The community may plead for leniency, especially for those known to be kind or unfortunate. The local priest may offer sanctuary in the church, though this is no guarantee. But more often, justice is harsh and public, a spectacle designed to deter as much as to punish. Children, too, are subject to the law. They can be punished for theft, fighting, or disrespect, beaten, locked in the stocks, or made to stand in shame. The idea of childhood as a protected time does not exist. All are expected to work, obey, and fear the consequences of misbehavior. As you watch the day's punishment play out, an old woman in the stocks for gossip, a young man whipped for stealing, you feel the weight of fear settle in your bones. Law here is a weapon, a shield, and a lesson in survival. The best you can hope for is to stay unnoticed, to keep your head down, and to pray that fortune and favor do not turn against you. Even as the crowd disperses and the village returns to work, the memory lingers. The law in medieval times is not a distant concept. It is a constant shaping every word, action, and thought. To survive even a single day, you must navigate not only hunger and hardship, but the ever-watchful eye of justice. The sun is sinking toward the horizon as the village bell tolls once again. But this time, the sound is not a call to prayer or work. It is a warning. From the edge of the fields, riders appear, swords glinting, banners snapping in the wind. In the medieval world, violence is never far away, and the shadow of war looms over every home, from the poorest peasant hut to the grandest castle hall. War is not an abstract fear but a reality. Kings and lords wage constant battles for land, power, and pride. Armies march across the countryside, leaving devastation in their wake. If you are a peasant, you are likely powerless, Your life and livelihood little more than the spoil of the next passing army. Your field might become a battleground, your grain taken as plunder, your home reduced to ashes. If you survive the soldiers, you must still endure famine and disease that inevitably follow in war's wake. Violence, too, is woven into daily life. Bandits roam the highways, ready to ambush travelers or raid lonely hamlets. Even the peace of a walled town can be shattered by feuding families or rival guilds. Fights erupt at fairs and markets, fueled by old grudges, strong ale, or hunger. For the weak, justice is slow or absent. The strong survive not only by skill but by alliances, wit, and luck. Weapons are everywhere. Every man, and many women, own a knife. Spears, axes, and bows hang above doors or lean in corners, always within reach. The village trains for defense, but the difference between readiness and safety is stark. Castles, with their high walls and moats, offer some protection, but even they are not invulnerable. A terrifying ordeal. Days or weeks may pass in hunger, fear, and sickness, as stones and fire rain down from the sky, and disease spreads among the trapped defenders. Odd for the peasant, the price of protection is steep. You owe labor to your lord, mustering with other villagers at his call. When raiders approach, you gather in the manor house or church, praying the walls will hold. Sometimes, lords offer arms and training, forming ragged militias. Other times they abandon their tenants, fleeing to safer strongholds and leaving you to the mercy of invaders. Children grow up with the sounds of distant fighting, the stories of lost kin, and the sight of scarred survivors returning from war. They learn early to keep watch, to hide at the first sign of danger, and to treat strangers with suspicion. Women, too, bear heavy burdens, defending homes, caring for the wounded, or sometimes becoming victims themselves. For knights and soldiers, the risk is different, but no less real. Battle is brutal and bloody. Shields splinter, armor fails, and wounds fester. The code of chivalry offers little comfort when steel meets flesh. A knight may be respected, but he lives with death as a constant companion. The lucky may return with stories and scars. The unlucky vanish on fields whose names are soon forgotten. There is no modern police force, no standing army to enforce peace. Safety is a fragile thing, built on the goodwill of neighbors, the strength of stone walls, and the hope that trouble will pass you by. Often, families sleep with one ear open, a knife or club close at hand, and the knowledge that a single night could change everything. In the city, militias patrol the streets, but law is rough and uneven. Disputes between merchants, guilds, or noble families can flare into open brawls. Violence is a fact of business and politics alike. Justice, if it comes slowly, and yet life endures. People rebuild after raids, plant again after fields are burned, care for their wounded, and mourn their dead. The will to survive is fierce, and communities pull together in times of danger, forging bonds of loyalty and courage that last for generations. As night falls, you look out over the quiet fields, knowing peace here is never guaranteed. In the medieval world, to last even a single day means navigating the ever-present threats of war and violence. The price of safety is high, and for many it is never truly paid. Night in the medieval world is thick with mystery and fear. Shadows stretch across the village. The flicker of candlelight is your only defense against the darkness beyond. In this time, medicine is as much magic as science, and the boundary between illness and evil is blurred. The supernatural is everywhere, woven into every story, prayer, and treatment. You, as a modern visitor, would soon learn that hope and healing are often matters of faith as much as fact. If you fall ill, Your options are limited and uncertain. Physicians are rare and expensive, found only in cities or at the courts of the powerful. Even then, their knowledge is rooted in ancient texts. More speculation than certainty. Diagnosis is guesswork. Humors out of balance, blood too hot or cold, the stars misaligned, or the will of God displeased. Treatments may involve bleeding, purging, or the application of bizarre concoctions, crushed herbs, animal parts, and precious metals, all mixed in hope more than science. Most people rely on local healers, wise women, herbalists, monks, who have learned the properties of roots, leaves, and flowers through experience and stories passed down over generations. They know how to make poultices for wounds, teas for fevers, and charms for nightmares. Some remedies work, others are placebos, their power found in the faith of those who use them. But healing is never just physical. Sickness is feared not only for pain and death, but for its mystery. A sudden fever or rash might be blamed on a witch's curse, or the evil eye, neighbors whisper, seeking reasons for disaster. Was someone envious, or did you break a taboo? The supernatural offers answers where medicine cannot. Monasteries are centers of care as well as faith. Monks tend herb gardens, copy ancient texts, and treat the sick with prayers, relics, and rudimentary surgery. Their wards are quiet sanctuaries. But even here, death is common and miracles rare. A handful of towns have leper houses or pest houses, isolating the visibly sick in hope of protecting the healthy. Night is a time of special danger. Evil is thought to wander in the dark. Ghosts, demons, witches, and restless spirits. People protect themselves with charms, crosses, and prayers. Church bells ring at dusk to ward off evil. Doors and windows are sealed with marks of protection. Stories are told of travelers vanishing, children falling ill, or cattle dying overnight. Signs of the unseen forces at work. When true disaster strikes, a plague, a wasting sickness, a series of mysterious deaths, fear and superstition rule. Communities might blame outsiders, beg the church for help, or call for witch trials. Innocent people, often women or the poor, are accused of dark arts and forced to confess under torture. Some are punished, some exiled, some executed, their only crime being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Despite this, hope persists. Faith is a balm, and ritual gives comfort. The church provides guidance and consolation, offering prayers, blessings, and holy relics believed to heal or protect. Pilgrimages are made to shrines, where miracles are rumored to occur. Candles are lit, offerings made, and lives entrusted to the mysterious workings of God and saints. Everyday life is shaped by the supernatural. Festivals honor saints and ancient spirits alike. Seasonal rituals ask for good harvests or protection from storms. The cycle of the year is a tapestry of faith, magic, and mystery. Even in suffering, people find meaning in signs and omens, rainbows after storms, the cry of a night bird, the blooming of a rare flower. As a modern person, you would marvel at the medieval reliance on forces unseen. Science, so dependable in your own time, has not yet claimed victory over myth. Here, the line between medicine and mysticism is thin, and the supernatural is not just a story but a presence, shaping every day and every night. To last a day in medieval times is to accept that the world is full of dangers beyond your understanding, and to trust, as your ancestors did, that somewhere between earth and heaven, help can be found. Morning breaks in the medieval world, and with it, the voices of children rise through narrow streets and smoky cottages. But the laughter and play of childhood are different here. Harsher, briefer, shaped by need and by the rhythm of adult life. In this world, there is little room for innocence, and every child learns the lessons of hardship, work, and survival from their earliest breath. From the moment you are born, your life is uncertain. Infant mortality is high. More than a third of babies do not survive their first year. Mothers pray as they labor in dim, cold rooms, helped by midwives who rely on experience, herbal knowledge, and prayer more than sterile instruments or modern medicine. If you live, you are swaddled tightly, believed to protect your fragile limbs and calm your spirit. Baptism is swift, for fear of losing your soul to illness or fate before it can be welcomed into the faith. Childhood is short. By age 5 or 6, you are already at work. If you live in the countryside, you help in the fields, scaring birds from the crops, gathering firewood, herding animals, or drawing water from the well. In town, you run errands, sweep floors, or assist with a family craft. Schooling, for most, is a dream. Only the children of the wealthy or of the church have access to books, learning their letters from a priest or, if very fortunate, at a small school attached to a monastery. Games and toys do exist, but they are made from scraps, balls of rags, carved wooden animals, hoops, and sticks. Laughter rings out in courtyards and on village greens, but every game is interrupted by work or by the voice of a parent calling you home. Sometimes play mimics life. Children act out weddings, feasts, or even battles, learning early the roles they will one day fill. Discipline is strict. Parents are loving but stern, quick to correct with a raised voice or a switch. Respect for elders is drilled from the start. Obedience is a matter of survival, not just courtesy. Punishments are physical and public. Shaming in the village square, a day of extra chores, or a scolding before neighbors. Childhood is not sheltered. You see sickness, hunger, injury, and even death up close. You learn to accept the world's harshness, to find strength and comfort in your family and faith. Girls and boys grow up fast. By the age of 12, girls may be married or pledged as apprentices in noble households. Boys take up trades, become pages, or work alongside their fathers. Family ties are strong, often binding several generations under one roof. Grandparents share stories and wisdom. Aunts and uncles pitch in to raise the youngest or care for the old. Celebrations and festivals are precious breaks from routine. Children look forward to the village fair, feast days, and harvest celebrations. Moments of laughter, song, and plenty. Here you might taste sweet cakes, see a juggler, or receive a tiny gift from a doting parent. These moments linger, bright spots in a life often colored by worry and work. For many, growing up medieval means learning to endure, to help your family, to honor your name, and to carry on when times are hard. Bonds of loyalty, tradition, and faith are the true treasures, passed down through stories told by the fire at night. From the outside, childhood may seem joyless, but for those who live it, there is pride in survival, in shared effort, and in the comfort of belonging. Each child who lives to adulthood is a testament to the family's strength, to the resilience of the human spirit. You, a modern visitor, would find this life unimaginable, but for medieval children it is the only life they know. A world of hardship, yes, but also of hope, laughter, and love in the face of adversity. Camp 1. Image prompt for chapter. A group of medieval children in patched clothes play with homemade toys in a sunlit village green. Nearby, a mother gathers water while a father repairs a fence. An elderly woman sits under a tree, telling stories to younger children, capturing both the hardship and warmth of medieval family life. As dawn breaks once more, the village is already alive with the sounds of labor. In the medieval world, work is not just a means to an end. It is the very substance of survival. From the youngest to the oldest, every hand has a task, and every task is essential. There are no days off, no weekends, and no assurance that even the hardest work will guarantee a good harvest or a warm winter. For most, life revolves around the land. Fields must be plowed, sown, weeded, and harvested by hand. Oxen pull crude wooden plows through thick earth, and men and women follow behind, sowing seed and dreaming of sun and rain in proper measure. In the summer, the days are long, and the work is relentless, scything grain, stacking sheaves, turning hay. Even children help, their small fingers nimble enough to gather stray ears or weed the rows. When the harvest is poor, the hunger that follows is no surprise. But not all are farmers. The town is a world of crafts and trades, each with its own rhythms and hazards. The blacksmith wakes before dawn to stoke his fire, forging tools, horseshoes, and weapons. The potter shapes clay with steady hands, his wheel spinning as he molds jugs and bowls for every home. The weaver works the loom, turning wool and flax into rough but precious cloth. The baker's day begins when the stars still shine, kneading dough by lamplight and filling the air with the promise of warm bread. Apprenticeships are the gateway to skill and survival. Barely in their teens, is sent to live with a master, learning not only the craft but the strict discipline of the workshop. Apprentices rise early, sweep floors, run errands, and watch, always watching, as the master demonstrates technique after technique. Years pass before they are allowed to try their own hand, and more still before they can hope to open a shop of their own. Women's work is everywhere and never ending. From sunrise to sunset, they fetch water, prepare food, spin thread, mend clothes, tend gardens, and care for children. Their hands are cracked and strong, their eyes sharp with knowledge passed from mother to daughter. Women make medicines from herbs, dye fabrics, and sometimes even join their husbands in the fields or the marketplace. If a woman is widowed or unmarried, she may take up a trade herself, supporting her family with skill and determination. Work is hard, but it is also communal. The tasks of the day draw people together. Neighbors share tools, stories, and burdens. Barn raisings, harvests, and repairs are done in groups, followed by simple feasts and songs. Guilds unite craftsmen and protect their interests, setting rules for quality and price, and caring for members in times of sickness or old age. Yet for all this labor, poverty is common. A single lost crop, a fire in the workshop, or a bout of illness can plunge a family into desperate need. There is little safety net beyond the goodwill of neighbors or the charity of the church. The very young and very old work as they are able, their pace slowing but never truly stopping. As the day ends, you might find the village gathered in the fading light, mending tools or sewing by the hearth. Tired voices share news and gossip. Calloused hands cradle mugs of weak ale. The fire glows, faces flicker with laughter and exhaustion, and for a moment there is rest. A brief pause before tomorrow's toil begins anew. For the modern visitor, the endless cycle of medieval work would be overwhelming. The sheer weight of necessity, the absence of leisure, and the constant risk of ruin are foreign to a world of convenience and choice. Yet, in the rhythm of work and craft, there is pride and purpose, a sense that each day's labor is part of something greater, woven into the fabric of family, community, and survival. As the bell in the church tower rings out across the village, people pause in their work and bow their heads. In medieval times, faith is not simply a matter of private belief. It is the pulse of daily life, woven into every moment, every decision, and every hope for the future. You are born into a world where God, saints, and spirits are as real as the earth beneath your feet, and where ritual shapes not just the calendar, but the very rhythm of survival. Each day begins and ends with prayer. Before the first light, you may kneel by your straw-filled bed, whispering the Lord's Prayer or tracing the sign of the cross over your chest. Church bells mark the hours, matins, lauds, vespers, and compline, calling everyone to pause, reflect, and honor the divine. Even the humblest cottage keeps a cross or holy image, a reminder that the line between sacred and ordinary is always thin. The church stands at the center of village life. It is not just a place for worship, but for news, learning, and gathering. Here, children are baptized, couples wed, and the dead mourned. The priest is a figure of both spiritual and practical authority, hearing confessions, blessing fields, and sometimes even judging disputes. His words carry weight. His presence brings comfort, but also the fear of sin and judgment. Ritual governs the seasons. The year is punctuated by feast days, fasts, and processions, moments of joy and community amid the hardship of daily life. Christmas and Easter are celebrated with song, special food, and rare relaxation. Saints' days honor the protectors of the land, while harvest festivals offer thanks for the earth's bounty. Even in times of hunger, families save a little for these holy days, hoping for divine favor in the months to come. For the medieval mind, the world is filled with mystery. Miracles are believed possible, and omens, good or bad, are taken seriously. Dreams, eclipses, and strange happenings are signs to be interpreted by priests or wise elders. The church teaches about heaven and hell, angels and demons, salvation and damnation. The promise of eternal life is a comfort, and the threat of damnation a constant goad to virtue. But faith is not always serene. Doubt, fear, and superstition mingle with hope. Disease, disaster, or war are seen as punishments or tests from God. People seek explanations for suffering, looking to the heavens for answers. Pilgrimages to holy sites, sometimes hundreds of miles away, are made in hope of healing or forgiveness. Relics of saints are treasured, and shrines built to mark places of wonder or deliverance. For some, faith is a personal matter, silent prayers in dark corners, secret doubts whispered in the night. For others, it is communal and public, a shared song, a processional through muddy streets, or a moment of collective silence as the priest lifts the host at Mass. Everyone, no matter their station, lives within the circle of belief, ritual, and the hope for grace. Other faiths exist at the edges, Jewish communities in walled towns, traveling scholars from distant lands, old pagan customs. These differences sometimes lead to curiosity, sometimes to suspicion or violence. Yet even in conflict, faith shapes the medieval world, giving it both unity and complexity. You, as a modern visitor, might find the medieval devotion overwhelming. Its certainty, its rituals, its omnipresence. Yet for those who live it, faith is not just a duty or tradition, but a lifeline. It offers explanation, comfort, purpose, and the hope that suffering is not meaningless, but part of a story much greater than any single life. To last a day in medieval times is to walk in the shadow of faith, to honor its rituals, fear its judgments, and find comfort in its promise that there is more to this world than hardship and toil. As the sun sinks behind the thatched rooftops and shadows spill across the village, a new kind of hardship arrives. Night in medieval times is more than darkness. It is a curtain of uncertainty and fear, draping over a world without the comforts and securities you know. With no streetlights, no locks worthy of the name, and no guarantee of safety, every family huddles close, hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. Candles and rushlights are precious. burned sparingly for the cost of tallow or oil. Most homes are lit only by the dying embers of the hearth. Your vision narrows to the small circle of flickering light, and everything beyond is unknown. The world outside your walls, fields, woods, and winding roads, becomes the domain of thieves, wolves, or restless spirits. Superstition takes on new weight as every creak, howl, or gust of wind could mean danger. Villagers close shutters tight, bar doors with wooden beams, and keep a weapon nearby. A staff, an axe, or a simple knife. Yet walls are thin, and even stone cannot stop a determined intruder. Bandits may roam after dark, preying on isolated farms or lonely travelers. Even in towns, the risk of fire, riot, or sudden violence is real. Patrolling watchmen carry lanterns and cudgels, their calls echoing through empty streets, but they are few and far between. For most, the evening is spent together, sharing stories and chores by the hearth. Women mend clothes, children listen to elders, spin tales of saints and heroes, and men check the locks and settle debts from the day. The community draws close, seeking warmth in body and spirit against the long night. Faith is a shield. Prayers are said before bed, charms hung over doors, and the sign of the cross drawn over sleeping children. Sleep, too, is different. With the cold and discomfort of straw mattresses and thin blankets, you sleep in 2 shifts. One in the early evening, a waking time for prayer or quiet talk, sleep until dawn. Dreams are vivid, colored by the events and fears of the day. In a world where illness can strike at any moment, where even the healthy might not wake, every night carries a silent, shared vulnerability. The landscape is transformed. Mist gathers over the fields, the moonlight casts long, eerie shadows, and the cries of animals drift on the wind. It is easy to believe in witches and ghosts, to fear the power of the unknown, to respect the darkness as your ancestors did. Yet farmers rise before dawn to tend to animals. Bakers light their ovens in the middle of the night, and shepherds brave the hills with little more than a lantern and a prayer. As dawn finally arrives and the sky lightens to pale blue, you emerge from the long, anxious hours of darkness. A new day begins, and with it, the endless cycle of toil, hunger, hope, and faith. For you, a modern visitor, a single day and night in the medieval world would be a profound trial. For those who lived it, every sunrise is a victory. Every night endured a testament to their endurance and the quiet strength that carried them forward. The struggles of the medieval world, its dirt, danger, hunger, and fear, were balanced by resilience, ingenuity, and the bonds of family and faith. While most of us today could not last a day in such a world, those who did shaped the foundation of our own. In the darkness and hardship, they found meaning, and in their struggles, the roots of our modern world took hold. Thank you so much for listening and exploring the medieval world with me, from dawn's cold light to the deep uncertainty of nightfall. I hope these stories have sparked your imagination, given you a new appreciation for the people of the past, and reminded you how much we take for granted in our daily lives. If you enjoyed this series, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your support inspires me to keep bringing history to life, one story at a time. Until next time, may you sleep well and greet tomorrow with gratitude. Good night, and thank you for being part of our storytelling adventure.